All right. So we're going to be, I said I was going to cover this, so I'm covering it. Right. The, the rumor, the insinuation, possible job listing, perhaps, of this thing. Now, before we continue, 24th of May of last year, right, I talked about the possible future story DLC. This is before Chaos Reign's expansion, and about how I think that Onaga absolutely should be a centerpiece. It should have been the centerpiece for the starter. And not just that, but what if, and a theory I had, what if Onaga ended up actually being one of the good guys, right? And that's the reason why, like, for example, over here, with Reiko's ending in MK1, it states here that the general told me the old legends were true, that his ancient ancestor defeated Onaga, trapping him deep within Mount Sargon. Now, my head goes, okay, what if Onaga was a good guy? Right? What if he actually was a good guy? And that's the reason why they trapped him, right? Because they didn't want him getting away. But anyway, let's go to the Game Rant article. Right? It says NetherRealm Studios is rumored to be developing a new story expansion with MK1. Fans were disappointed by the rumored cancellation of Kombat Pack 3. Really? Well, I mean, it's plural, so 2? 3? Recently uncovered info suggests that Mortal Kombat 1 may not be abandoned after all. Well, I talked about this in a previous video, didn't I? Right? Where with the new movie coming out, they have got to keep focus on their Mortal Kombat franchise in the forefront. Right? That's why Ed Boon is pimping out the fact that the game is in the top, what was it, 19th position, I think it was, for being played currently in for PlayStation, right? And that's all well and good, but is it people mostly sitting in there in Towers of Time, sitting there in Invasions, sitting there doing arcade towers, or actually playing online? We don't have these metrics. We just get this blanket, oh, look how popular it is. And while it is, right, because I didn't see no other fighting games in the list, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a success, right? MMO has put in a lot of grind, and I also put in a lot of things like low drop chances for items or whatnot, or gear, because they know that people will sit there and continually grind and grind and grind and grind. That builds up playtime, so to them they go, see, people are playing all the time. Doesn't mean to say that the content is good or it's engaging. NetherRealm Studios is rumored to be working on a new story expansion for MK1 while the studios remain mostly secretive, right? Newly surfaced information suggests, I'll talk right in a minute, may have been developing a long-awaited MK1 DLC that some fans believe have been cancelled. Now, this goes all the way back to when Fate Unknown, my brother, who's been a very, very well-known and very accurate leaker for a long time, going theory in my head that it's one of the biases doing it, right? Fuck it, that'd be amazing if it was, to be perfectly honest, right? Is that it came out that, yeah, they cancelled Kombat Pack 3. Now, in hindsight of that, maybe they went, maybe we can put out content, right? But as I said in previous video, if they're going to do that, they have to make it all MK characters, right? No guests. Let's fucking guess, right? Like, I know some of you conditioned to loving this shit just because they kill and now they can be in Mortal Kombat. You want to make guests? Put them in a guest-only fighting game, right? Call it Tards R Us, right? And if there's Doomslayer and Ghostface in there, I will happily play Doomslayer and I will beat the shit out of that bedsheet wearing mofo every day. Because then I don't have to have it in Mortal Kombat anymore, right? Stop putting this shit in MK, right? It doesn't work, it looks goofy, and nobody likes it except for like 5 people on Twitter, right? And the reason why some of the pro scene, just as an aside, like it, is not because it's a guest character, it's because of the tools that the guest character has, right? So, according to a newly surfaced job listing, NetherRealm appears to be hiring a senior animator to support its story mode campaign. The listing also mentions experience with martial arts and fighting games as a qualification. further fueling speculation about a possible Mortal Kombat 1 story expansion. Now, I know John Tobias I don't think he's well, I'm assuming he's not. I mean, he's obviously an artist, but I don't know if he's could step into the shoes of being a senior animator. Perhaps story director, for sure. In fact, story writer, and kick out that Dom dude. He's absolute crap. It's obvious he can't write for shit, right? I'd like to see John Tobias in there somewhere in some sort of like lead capacity. I mean, the reason why I fell in love with Mortal Kombat is for the story. In a time when video games where fighting games were involved, Mortal Kombat really were fleshing itself out compared to its competition. And they did it so well. Not to mention the influences of it as well, which was really cool. While the position could be tied to an unannounced project or a new fighting game IP, the fact that NetherRealm was only hiring a single senior animator and hasn't shown signs of broader team expansion suggests it may be working on one of its existing titles, most likely MK1. Mortal Kombat 1 may not be abandoned as some had feared. Who are these people? Shills. Nut huggers. Although Mortal Kombat's initial campaign rebooted the lore, fans generally welcomed the new storyline. You chose violence. I didn't. Right? It was okay until the multiverse shit, and then it went just tits up. Right? This whole new timeline was a joke because as Ed Boon pointed out, everything ended up in the same spot roughly anyway. Right? All the bad guys ended up being the bad guys. You know. Except we got Discount Raiden. And I hate what they've done with Kung Lao. You know, they've turned him into just this stupid ass you know, comic relief along with Johnny Cage. Can we get back to making serious stories for MK again like we used to? Right. Many had hoped that the developer would expand on with DLCs. Listen, I don't care really much. I don't need extra story. If you are going to do extra story, Onaga. I've been saying that for the longest time. Right? But outside of that, if you don't do story, just give us some fucking MK characters. Right? At the very least. However, none of the subsequent updates made any attempt to further develop the campaign. In January 2025, MK1 received a major update that added Conan the Barbarian as a playable character. He was so good that all the attention went to Floyd. This was followed by a March patch that introduced the T-1000 and Madame Bo, along with a series of gameplay improvements. Although none of MK1's recent updates expanded the story, they were well received by fans. Who wrote this article? Right? Who wrote this article? Where's his name? Where is he? Is there a name? Mohsen Bakary? What the fuck name is that? Listen, son. Maybe you should just, you know... Maybe just focus on what you know, right? You know what I'm saying? Like... Fucking card game reviewer spitting this out. Anyway. Where was I at? Slight uptick in player activity. Not true, because if it's judging by... So the real-time stats that we can actually get and look at is Steam. And just not long ago it was on 1,800 players. Right? If the rumours are true and NetherRealm's new hire is indeed working on a second story expansion, fans might have reason to hope for a potential revival of the game. A new DLC could draw lapsed players back in and give current players a reason to stay engaged while waiting for the next installment in the series. Onaga. This is how you fix it. I've been saying it forever. This is how you fix it, right? Although knowing them, he'd probably walk out in a skirt and claim to be Onagress, right? But ultimately, Onaga. Onaga. Right? That's the only thing that they should focus on. Make it a big, badass story. Make it so that the story itself, you don't actually know, like my theory about him being the good guy, right? But what you do is you make sure that you don't know he's going to be the good guy. You leave it so you're playing through the expansion, not knowing which way he's going to go. I think that'd be awesome. It'd keep people on the edge of their seat, so to speak, right? Wondering which way he's going to go, good or bad. And then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, he's definitely this or definitely that, right? And imagine this fucking thing just breaking out of his prison. That would be absolutely epic, right? It's the only way forward. It is the only way forward. But if you want to go back and check the video that I did, you're more than welcome to, right? Because I don't really think there's any way to save this game. I think this game is basically just existing, right? I think fighting games in general, outside of a couple of ones, is kind of falling to pieces, right? On every sort of metric you can think of. Grand Blue is having a ball. I'm loving Grand Blue. Grand Blue is so much fun. It's an amazing fighting game, right? We've got 2XKR, I believe it's coming out this year. We've got Fatal Fury coming out, which, you know, I am going to cover that stuff with the guest characters. Jeez, why don't you just get the fucking homeless man off the street, right? Like, anyway, that's another video. So, I think Warner Brothers, because everything else is failing around them, they need to make money on their IP, right? And they're stubborn because they won't sell this shit off. They need to sell this off to someone else. Somebody that knows and loves Mortal Kombat, or at least can respect the lore like what we saw with Marvel Rivals, and the respect that the developers gave the actual characters in the implementation of designs and execution of those characters in that game. That's what they need to do, right? But if they're not going to do it, and we are stuck with, like, you know, between a rock and a hard place, Onaga is at least exciting to a degree because nobody bought Havoc, and as a bad guy, and just all MK all MK DLC characters, no guest characters, and that's the only way moving forward, right? And that is basically like, you know, salvaging it to a tiny degree. And you got to remember that, like, you know, you got to pay for this stuff. It's not like they're coming out with the goodness of their heart and going, here you go, it's all free. Now that would be amazing, right? That would be amazing. Okay. And they do this sometimes with MMOs, right? Where if there's been a few expansions, they'll bundle those expansions, except for the latest one. They'll bundle it all into the main game, right? And so that way, if you never picked up the latest expansion and you've only just gotten into the game, and it's because most MMOs usually release free to play, then you've got all of this extra content because enough time had passed, and they're like, yeah, we need to keep people playing, right? And hopefully incentivize them to want to buy the new expansion, right? So you could do that with this particular one. You could say, well, listen, if you've got Chaos Reigns, you get the story expansion and the characters for free. I know that is absolutely sinful to say, because I know that they would be having a heart attack right now at the idea of giving anything away that it was of decent quality for free. Not these crappy McDonald's coloured skins, not some old bird Madam Boat. I'm talking real content, like real juicy, you know, meat on the bones content. They won't do it, but we can dream. Anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you think. Catch you next time.